Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. The Lakers drop game 2 in Denver. Do they have enough left in the tank to climb out of an 0-2 hole? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcast. It's always going to be free. It's never going to be behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show and hang out with over 17,000 Lakers and NBA fans, subscribers to the channel who are all nervous and upset at the Lakers. 108-103, I should say, the final in game 2 in Denver. The Lakers lose. They're down 0 games to 2 to the Nuggets in this best of 7 Western Conference Finals. Game 3, which of course you can queue up on your SXM app from Sirius, searching Lakers. Game 3 on Saturday, 5:30 tip Pacific time. So, Andy, I mean, ultimately this game, lots to unpack. It was kind of a fascinating game in a lot of ways. Ultimately, what it comes down to, Jamal Murray goes absolutely nuclear in the fourth quarter after a slow first 3. Lakers were doing a great job on him for the first 3 quarters. Murray made up for it and more in the fourth. He finishes with 37 points. He stepped up, and no stars for the Lakers were really able to match that. Anthony Davis, in particular, just came up short on Wednesday, Tuesday, I should say. It's not for lack of effort. I'm sorry, Thursday, not for lack of effort, but the performance wasn't there.
Yeah, and LeBron talked after the game about how, that surge from Murray in the fourth with a little bit of Michael Porter Jr. in the mix, it wasn't even a question really of defensive breakdowns. There was only one that he recalled off the top of his head, and LeBron's typically pretty good at remembering.
Top of his head is pretty good at this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he whenever Darvin Ham says he needs to go to the tape, he could just ask LeBron, "What do you think?" Like, just save me a couple hours and just tell me what happened. Yeah. But I actually think he's correct. I thought most of Murray's shots during that stretch were actually pretty well contested. He's just somebody that, we've seen this a lot over his career. Once he gets on a roll, he is capable of burying you. He's got great range. He has a really good handle and like a really herky-jerky game that I think can be hard to get a beat on, particularly as he starts feeling momentum. And then in the meantime, the Lakers not only went dry in the fourth quarter in this game, I thought their execution in the process of going dry was both bad and did Denver a lot of favors, not just in the sense of missing the shots, which clearly is a favor to Denver.
It's nice. It's helpful. Yeah.
But also a lot of those misses created running opportunities for Denver to get the Lakers defense scrambled, to put somebody like Michael Porter Jr., who is a walking mismatch as it is, up against a defender.
Murray, just for the accounting, was 6 of 7 from the field and 4 of 5 from 3 for 23 points in the fourth. But you mentioned Michael Porter Jr., who had 2 critical threes in the fourth as well.
Yeah. It was one of those games where, LeBron talked afterwards about how he thought they were better in game 2 than they were in game 1. And
I agree
that if they continue to improve from game 2 to game 3, they can win game 3. And I don't think he's wrong about that. But the flip side is the Lakers had potential opportunities to be up 2-0 in this series. And if nothing else, what we've really learned, considering the Nuggets almost had a collapse in game 1, managed to avoid it, and then managed to actually cement a comeback in the fourth quarter, unlike the Lakers in game 1, Denver just has a larger margin for error than the Lakers.
Yeah, I think so.
They just do.
Yeah, and this gets to it. Like, I spoke a little to that. I think LeBron is correct. They played better defensively in game 2 than they did game 1. They were more active. They were more attentive, defensive transition aside. They're just bad at it. But overall, they played a stronger defensive game in game 2 than they did game 1. The offense regressed. And,
it's interesting though, like just really quick.
Sure.
The offense regressed a lot in results, but I'm not sure the offense necessarily regressed in execution because they got a lot of shots that they wanted. They just didn't make them.
You know what I mean? Like, I think they got them. I think they ended up with a lot of late clock looks that weren't great. They are not a great half court team. It doesn't matter how they do this, especially when teams back off of LeBron. It is, I understand people say put the ball on the floor, go down, just go downhill. It's just that, like, it's not always that easy.
Although there were some times in the
we'll get to the
where, frankly, it was that easy.
Get to the 6 3-pointers. Please stop taking the 3-pointers. But not taking the 3-pointers doesn't mean the alternative in that moment was, you could have just had a layup. You just trying to get a 3. Let somebody else try to take a 3-pointer.
Just move the ball. Like,
right. That's what
actually
I'm saying.
Just look for a shot.
Move the ball. Because we'll get there eventually, I promise. But a lot of these threes, particularly later in the game from LeBron, were early clock threes. They weren't even buzzer beating late. It's like
they might have been before the clock started.
Please don't take those kind of shots. Yeah. I look at this, and we will, I think, parse the differences in my mind, at least, between Anthony Davis and LeBron in this game. But Jokic was good in this game. He was not great. It's crazy to say 23, 17, and 12 with 3 steals is like, it's okay. But 9 of 21 from the floor from Jokic, only made it to the line, I think 3 or 4 times. 3 times. I'm sorry, 6 times. But the Lakers, 23 points on Jokic from 21 shots. That's actually pretty good. It's about as good as you're going to do. Someone needed to elevate down the stretch for the Lakers, and that person, just based on body language, on available energy, on context and where they are in the NBA and their careers, the person had to be Anthony Davis, and it just wasn't. And it wasn't an Anthony. I agree with you. I don't think it was an Anthony Davis fading in and out of a game, floating through, whatever. But Jamal Murray
he had 14 rebounds and
4 blocks.
He had 15 field goal attempts on top of 11 free throws. Yeah. Like, you can't make that happen if you're not looking for your shot. He just wasn't able to get shots dropped. I'm not saying it should make Laker fans feel any better about it at all. Doesn't make me feel any better about it.
No, but it's not one of those character flaw games.
Right.
It was a game
it's worth pointing out the difference. That's all.
No, you're right. You're right. And it's one of these things. The margins, like you say, are so thin. And the Lakers could end up, this could be a 7-game series where, the Lakers win it. Like, they're not out of it yet. They got to win game 3. They got to win game 4. But they could. They haven't lost at home in the playoffs, yet. I would be very surprised if they certainly don't come out with a better effort, as good of an effort as they can muster on Saturday, because their season is quite literally on the line. But, it's just, it is really hard. And this could also be one of those 6 games. If they're not careful, it's going to be a 4 or 5, 6 game series where the Lakers lose 4 games where they had a chance to cut a lead to 2 or 0 or whatever with under a minute left, which is what they had again. It was the LeBron 3 in game 1, that the ill-advised LeBron 3. And on Thursday, LeBron made a spectacular steal with the Lakers down 4 and drove to try to get a layup. Aaron Gordon, strong contest. LeBron missed the layup. Like, that cuts it to 2 with 28 seconds left. The
strong contest, but it's a shot LeBron.
He's got to make.
You need LeBron James to make that shot.
You have to make that shot. So I don't have a lot to say about Anthony Davis other than he just wasn't good enough. It was a night where the efficiency had to be better than 4 of 15. He had to, it just wasn't good enough. And it's a different one than it has been. But let's talk about LeBron too, because his role in this game I thought was fascinating and also gets to one of my big concerns with the Lakers going forward for the rest of this series. We'll get to it next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by Bird Dogs, the makers of shorts and pants that feature the future of comfort, which is built-in underwear stitched inside the shorts or the pants. It's almost like a layer of boxer brief that are at one with the clothing. They call it Comfort Kingdom, and you can rule this land in your Bird Dogs. You look better, feel great wearing Bird Dogs. The stretchy fabric makes my legs, and frankly, your legs, I've seen them. They need some help. They make them look great, and they are comfier than other pants and shorts. And there's also versatility. You can wear the same pants or shorts on the golf course, work meeting, on a date. It's great attire for, doing a little grilling, then sitting down, watching some sports. And they are forgiving too. Like for those who need a little extra stretch in the midsection, a little more room, nothing to be ashamed of, especially when you can look good in those Bird Dogs. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnNBA, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. I have one. I forgot to bring it, but take my word for it. It's really nice. If you go to the website, I'm sure it's there. It ought to be. But it's
I've been drinking cool beverages out of it as well. It is delightful.
Yeah, go get your Bird Dogs.
Quick reminder, 5:30 tip-off on Saturday. Go to the SXM app. That's Sirius XM Radio. Search Lakers. You can catch the Lakers there on the big satellite radio. Game 3. Gotta win it. LeBron, this is one of those games. I'm not comparing it to the Kobe Game 7 against against Boston in 2010. Different, contextually different. A lot of things, age different. A lot of things very different. But it was a game where where you could see struggle on Kobe's face throughout this game and struggle on LeBron's face throughout this game. LeBron's struggle, I think, was, Anthony Davis tried to play it off after the game, fatigue, this, that. And he's like, nope, not an issue. Like LeBron is like, if you're not tired in the playoffs at this point, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, that was an interesting point. And I know it's something we're going to talk about. I also want to make sure that we end up getting into the games by Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura, who were both fantastic today.
They really were.
Quite frankly, the Stars let those two down. Rob Pelinka may have some interesting decisions this offseason.
No, look, clear some cap space, rebuild around those guys,
exactly.
And you're cooking. Now you're cooking with gas.
But those two definitely merit some conversation that we
Hachimura in the first half particularly was just otherworldly. 7 of 7 in the first half.
But at this point, the fatigue thing, to whatever degree it's a thing, it is what it is.
Well, it is what it is, but it's different, I think, with LeBron. This is why I think it was incumbent on AD to have to be the one to elevate, because LeBron, I saw a lot, Lakers fans they're down, Lakers down 0-2. People are upset. They're angry. They see this sort of series potentially slipping away. And, while big picture, run to the Western Conference Finals. What a great result of this season, even if that once you're here, it's like, no, we're greedy, and they're fully capable of winning. So this is not house money that the Lakers are playing with, because they are good enough to get to the finals. That's not what this is. LeBron's is out of energy. And, I feel like in this game, he played. I saw people saying that, LeBron and AD were trash in this game. LeBron was worse than AD. LeBron, I actually thought, did a lot of really good things, and defensively, it was one of the best games he's played as a Laker.
LeBron was fantastic defensively in this game.
Phenomenal defensively. And I think was doing, sort of recognizing, got to steal a game here and got to try. We need to go back to LA 1-1. Like, it is really important to steal a game here in Denver. And there were moments offensively where he was able to put the ball on the floor and get downhill and finish at the basket, and he was very effective. But 0 for 6 from 3 were just killers. And the missed dunk was a killer. And this layup was a killer. I'm talking about the earlier one, not the one at the end of the game when he just smoked right before the dunk, actually. Like, though, when you talk about margin for error, Andy, those have to go in. LeBron said as much after the game. Like, those have to go in, and they didn't. And it was just this study in contrast. I'm wondering from you how much you think the 0 for 6 from 3, excuse me, the decision making to take some of those threes, early clock threes in the fourth, is fatigue, and how much of it was just him trying to shoot them back into the game.
I mean, I don't look. It's hard to say because this is a habit of LeBron's, period. Whether you're talking about in the fourth quarter or sometimes when it seems like he wants to go for that knockout punch. You know, it's not even heat checks. He will often do this in games where he's missing threes because LeBron has struggled from three this entire season and certainly during the playoffs. It may be affected to some degree by fatigue. I mean, you know,
I ask you just because, you know, we've talked about, like, the first thing to go is the decision making.
Look, the fatigue can't help. It probably doesn't elevate his decision making because it doesn't elevate anybody's decision making. But I got to be honest, there's a part of me that doesn't care. Like, I honestly just don't care. Like, because if LeBron is so tired at this point that he can't recognize there's 20 seconds left on the clock, you haven't moved the ball, and you're just self-creating a three in a postseason where you're shooting like 25%, then, like, I guess you have to take LeBron out of the game. You know what I mean? Like, at some points, like, you're one of the smartest basketball players to ever live. You are smart enough to recognize this isn't smart. And it would be one.
Yeah, or that he's, you know, bad or good decision making aside, like that he's missing the shots, you know, and the shots just won't fall.
I mean, there may be nobody in the last, like, certainly 20 years, let's just say since LeBron's been in the league, that is more capable of recognizing a good shot, a good set, good possession, whatever, than LeBron. Yep. Like, you know, fatigue, I guess, could be a factor, but again, I don't care. Like, especially when it happens multiple times in a row. Like, at some point,
it was like the reverse heat check. He was like trying to shoot himself out of a slump at the strangest time of a game. It's like, I mean, like, you just gotta wait till game 3, man. Like, it's not happening tonight.
No, I mean, like, at that point, Darvin Ham needs to either say something on the sidelines or, like, stage an intervention or something like that. I don't think you can chalk it up to that. What I think, though, was interesting about fatigue, just because you had mentioned LeBron being out of energy, I don't agree that he's out of energy. What I do think, though, is he is out of a lot of two-way energy. I think he can crank it up on one side of the ball right now.
Right, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's not that he can't do anything. It's that he has reached sort of maximum capacity in terms of whether it's, you know, two-way play for 7 games. Like, we talked about it earlier, you know, in the Golden State series. Like, there's some spot picking going on where, like, he's looking for his time to where he can. I think we have reached a point where LeBron kind of can't crank it up any higher,
absolutely,
than he's going right now.
But I mean, like, it is worth pointing out again, like, his defense in this game, particularly in transition, where, you know, the team has been guilty of a lot of awful possessions. I think LeBron, over the course of these 2 games, has probably been the best Laker in transition, which really says something, again, when you take into account the age and the mileage and the whatever. I think in the end, his offensive line is a little bit deceptive. Like, I don't think it is as good as it would look I think it looks better than if you watch the actual game in terms of its overall impact. But I also agree with you that in the end, this was also a time, you know, not even just this game, just these playoffs, period. And you can say this about every game. This is really when you need Anthony Davis to be great pretty much damn near all times he's on the court. Like, and it is a big
ass,
burden,
but
this is also what comes with being the superstar. And
yeah.
look, defensively, AD's been a monster in these playoffs, and that takes effort, and it's been a difference-making effect. And like we both have said, this game was not about AD being unaggressive. It was about him being ineffective. You make up your mind for yourself, which is worse.
Yeah. That you mentioned LeBron's line. He finished with 22, 9 rebounds, 10 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks. I mean, he was the only
his offensive line, I should say, like strictly
I
from
understand
the
what you're
field.
saying. He and Dennis Schroeder were the only 2 Lakers in positive for plus minus, whatever that's worth. I'm sorry, Austin Reeves was a plus 13. Misread that. So for whatever you think that's worth for a game, but like when you break it down, 9 of 19, not hyper efficient. That drops to 9 of 13 when you take away the threes, and that drops to 9 of 12 when you get rid of that dunk. 9 of 11 when you get rid of the layup that he missed, and then 9 of 10 when after the smoke. I shouldn't call that. That was not a smoke layup. The missed layup at the end. So it's like these moments of. It was either like.
A couple of the shots down the stretch that were also
all or nothing.
It was uncontested, and his misses really mattered in
this
game.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The misses were unusually consequential.
Yes,
for misses.
Yeah. You know what they were? They were Russell Westbrook misses. When we talk about loud misses,
yeah,
they were Russell Westbrook-esque.
The Lakers took 82 shots. LeBron wasn't the only person who missed them, but the 3 of them, 2 of which were just inexplicable, and 1 of which was explicable. Those 3 loom large. But I have a larger question about this that is related to the team as a whole. And like you mentioned, we should note the fine work of Rui Hachimura and especially, I think, Austin Reeves. We'll do all that when we come back. Do want to remind people today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNBA. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnNBA, they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. Get your Yeti style tumbler.
It is good.
So my biggest concern with the Lakers, when before the playoffs began, was they spent so much time and energy just trying to get in, playing playoff intensity basketball for the last 8 weeks or so of the season, and then going into the playoffs, and then having to deal with an NBA schedule where apparently they just want to brutalize these players. I mean, every other day, were we in a hurry? Does like Adam Silver's got somewhere to be between like now and the end of the season? Like, this is a quick conference final schedule that they have put together that doesn't do the Lakers any favor. I am concerned that they may, if they haven't already, have just kind of hit a wall. And maybe it's not one where they completely disintegrate, but one where that last 5%, that last 3%, that last little something that helps make up for the margin that Denver probably has over them, whether it's from home court or more rest over the course of the season, whatever it might be. I am a little concerned that they might hit that wall. Just because I've been looking for it. So there could be some confirmation bias here, but it's a concern.
Here's where I would really judge it. Game 3, because they're at home, but also you get out of Denver in that altitude. Like it's not just a matter of playing on the road where it's always more difficult. Denver is a hard place to play. Like that talk of the altitude, that's real. I've never heard an NBA
burns your lungs, man.
Yeah, I've never heard an NBA player say, you know what, that's a lot more hype than reality. They all say it's hard to play there. So, and their defense in this game was, for the most part, quite good.
Yeah.
So I will have I think I'll be more in alignment with what you're saying, depending on how they look in game 3. But I do think, though, that margin for error is starting to show itself more. Just because, again, Denver has managed to stave off what could have been just an epic collapse. Even acknowledging the Lakers made a couple mistakes down the stretch, Denver still managed to stave it off. And then they managed to pull off a huge comeback in the fourth quarter, despite those odds looking pretty big. So we may just, you and I both talked about before this series began, we went back and forth. We couldn't really decide who we thought was going to win because you and I have both been sold on Denver this whole season of being a really good team. They may be better, not necessarily decisively better, but that degree of better may be starting to show themselves, not in a way that demonstrates the Lakers can't beat them in a game, maybe even come back and beat them in a series, but just it will be percentage points harder for them to do it.
They really needed to win one of these, and I've seen they've blown in the it's like Denver's really good, and like I don't think this is not, you blow opportunities, and maybe that's, people are going to say that you're being a homer, you're being whatever. Like I feel like words matter sometimes. Like you blow opportunities when you play with your food, when you get lazy about stuff, when you don't, like, to me. And I feel like the Lakers.
No, I think they blew this game. I think they blew this game. I got to be honest. They blew this game because it wasn't just Denver getting hot. It was their own mistakes.
But Denver was forcing them into some of those things. And I think and I feel like the Lakers were, some of these things are a result of what, of the cumulative things going forward. Like, but the other thing is too, it's like the Lakers need, if the one or the other of Dennis Schroeder or D'Angelo Russell has to provide them with something.
Yes.
It's Anthony Davis.
We didn't even get into the new starting lineup, by the way. we didn't even mention.
And by the time the next time we record, it's going to be, if people missed it, they swapped out Vanderbilt. Got off to a good start. So I mean, it was, they went big, but in a slightly different way. Hachimura still played, I think, 30 in this one. Pull up.
He played 30 minutes, played extremely well. 21 points off the bench, 8 of 10 from the field.
He kept the Lakers in it the first half. It was a quieter second half than the first. But it just,
he and Reeves were the only guys really producing at their station. Like, that went out and gave what was expected, or I would argue more.
Right. And certainly Rui's first half was that. I thought Reeves was probably their most consistent player, through both halves. But, it's funny, like the D'Angelo question for next year is one that we're going to spend when this season is over, at whatever point that is, we're going to spend a lot of time on D'Angelo Russell and whatever. He was not great in this game. The biggest problem is just defensively. He missed too many shots. If he can be playing, he's got to do better than 1 of 5 from 3. But, he had some really good plays and he had some really bad ones, but mostly defensively, they just played him off the floor.
Yeah. This is a very difficult series for him. Mm-hmm. He is constantly being faced with players that you simply have to guard, and that you also just, Denver isn't quite Golden State as a motion type offense, but they move a lot. There's a lot to keep track of, and it doesn't play to D'Angelo's strengths.
He played 33 minutes. It's not like he wasn't part of this game.
No, but I'm just saying,
there were sections where he was pretty good. But I would just to say, like, while we watch this conversation, meanwhile, Hachimura's price is going up and up and up and up and up, and Reeves's price is going up and up and up and up and up and up. And how all of these things play together when this season eventually ends, we don't need to get into it now, is going to be a really fascinating, combined with how much money the Lakers really are they willing to spend on a roster? Because
how much does the new CBA prevent certain things?
And what if they, where could they go to replace some players if they don't want to spend money? These playoffs have been, generally, I think, expensive for the Lakers just because the Hachimura's price and Reeves's price have increased. But those guys were really good, and the key to game 3 is, to me, is just Anthony Davis got to be, they need a monster game from Anthony Davis. They need LeBron to cut down on threes and then do the rest of what he was doing in game 2. And then, is it going to be a rebound game for D'Lo? Is it going to be a rebound game for Schroeder? Is Lonnie Walker going to sneak in there with 14 points or 15 points? Like the unexpected production. They got the unexpected production from Hachimura in game 2, 22 points, 7 of 7 in the first half. But it just, they need something because the offense is really struggling.
Yeah, I mean, Schroeder is giving them something at least defensively. Like he is. He's been. Well, I'm just saying it's worth pointing out. Like defensively, Schroeder is holding up his end of the bargain. He is often making Jamal Murray work. Like we talked about that fourth quarter surge that Schroeder was in for some of it. Murray was making difficult shots, and sometimes that just happens.
To your point earlier, it's not necessarily about people being bad. It's just not being good enough. Like the Lakers' margin needs someone to elevate them a little higher. I agree with you. Schroeder wasn't garbage in this game. I didn't think
but the reason
garbage in this game. You just need to elevate.
The reason I'm bringing it up, though, is it's the difference between him and D'Angelo. D'Angelo's not doing enough on either side of the ball. Mm-hmm. Schroeder is holding up his end, at least defensively. That becomes more or less of a problem depending on how much the other guys are producing. But yeah, D'Lo needs a bounce back game. Like, I don't think it's a question of playing him off the bench or stuff. I don't think it matters. I think they need him just to play better.
They're going to play Vanderbilt and Hachimura in that sort of power forward center hybrid role. And that's where those minutes are going to go. And after that, you get a little bit of minutes from Lonnie, and those are the only players who are going to play. So whether you start him or you bring him off the bench, Russell's going to play a half hour.
He just needs to play better.
He's got to play better. You're right. So, I mean, this is what they have. There's no magical secret formula of bring this guy in all of a sudden.
The move of starting either Vanderbilt or Rui was necessary. That switch had to happen, period. I think from this point, the starters are fine. The bench rotation's fine. Guys just need to play better.
Mm-hmm. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go to see the show. We, of course, will be back on Saturday into Sunday following game 3. Lakers got to win that one. If they don't win that one, I don't know. Let's just not talk about it. They got to win that one. So they have not been bad in these 2 games. They have all the ability to go out and win 2 games in a row, send this thing back to Denver, tied at 2 for game 5, which I believe would be on Wednesday next week.
Yes.
So this series is far from over. Lakers are down 0-2, but have not been drastically outplayed even a tiny bit in this playoff. So plenty of reason for Lakers fans to hang in there. We certainly are, and we'll see everybody after the game on Saturday.